You are always in the spotlight, and yet you care most about people who are never in the spotlight. You care most about people that we as a society have thrown away. And I wonder why that is.
I think experience, maybe just life experiences, positive, negative, becoming a mom, life changes you. I think you get to a point where you have experiences that just change you. And when I met Alice, and I felt like it was a fairly easy experience for me when I know it shouldn't be to help get someone out. It takes 10, 20 years to do what I did in 6 months. And I didn't realize the fight at that time. Mm-hmm. To me, that was a few phone calls. And that really struck me that, however it was done, it was done. Mm-hmm. I'm so grateful. But that process has to change.
I think you're selling yourself short, though, because Van Jones, one of your biggest cheerleaders, a good friend of ours at CNN, told me this about you. There is nobody like Kim. She is in a category of her own. She takes every case so seriously. She'll have read the file with more care than the attorneys. She will know the case backwards and forwards in every meeting. Do you think this will be your life's most meaningful work ahead?
I hope so. I always joke with my mom, who's my manager. I say, Kim K is retiring, and I'm just going to be an attorney.
Kim Esquire.
Yes. So I was like, so you can go help my siblings. So.
Are you?
So you can still
Is
have
she
a
like,
job.
what about my 10%? Or, no.
Yes. So I'm giving her the heads up.
Would you ever consider a life without the cameras?
Yeah, absolutely. I do feel like I have there's a lot that's always on TV and a lot that's always out there, but I think my friends and my family know we really cherish a lot of our private times, and I would be just as happy being an attorney full-time and doing that. The journey just really opened up my eyes to so much that it gets overwhelming because there's so much to be done. And I just, I brought my sister Chloe to a prison for the first time last week, and that was really eye-opening for her. And I just, I would totally spend more time doing that. Cameras, no cameras. I
don't think, we know your success stories with Alice Marie Johnson, for example. But what not everyone knows is that you've also had efforts where you haven't been able to help that person get off death row. You were the last phone call for one inmate who was being executed. I mean, I remember seeing you in tears, so shaken because of that. What is that like to feel when you can put all your weight behind something and you still lose them?
It's such I don't even know the word for it, but it's just, it's like a really emotional experience. And so with that Brandon Bernard case that you're speaking of, who he was executed, it was really important for him to allow me to tell his story. And I think that my role in all of this is to storytell and to explain people's stories and their histories. And I really think people would understand. And, President Trump did understand once he started to hear these stories instead of just seeing their cases. And he went in being so pro-death penalty and really hard on crime to opening up his heart and realizing that so many people are inside that don't deserve to be and have completely rehabilitated themselves. And he passed a bill, the First Step Act, and I think almost 30,000 people have been let out because of the storytelling of one woman that changed his mind. So I think storytelling, and I think that's what my role is to really explain what people have been through to hopefully change the bigger picture.
Have you talked to Fred? Have you talked to President Biden about this?
We have reached out. He has not done any commutations. There's actually, Van and I were talking about a situation of a guy who got out, and they're actually trying to put them back in. So
Fair to say you'd like a meeting in the Oval Office?
I would love one. I would love one.
Well, he's running again,
Yes.
if you haven't heard,
I
announced
heard.
this morning.
I heard.
To the victims' families, there are victims' families who say, no, they don't support the work you're doing. What do you say to them?
I completely understand that as well. And my empathy and belief in rehabilitation doesn't take away my compassion for what they've gone through as a family. And and the people that I'm helping feel the same exact way. And we've had conversations about that. So I completely understand when someone reaches out, because the families do reach out sometimes. And I completely empathize with them as well. So they're not wrong, and that everyone has their own journey. And I think I just have to focus on what I think is the right thing, and I will always believe that people are deserving of second chances.
It was remarkable to hear from her and to watch and really see what she is doing with this platform and what she's dedicating her life to. Let's talk about it with someone you heard about in that conversation, CNN political commentator and former special advisor to President Obama, Van Jones. He continues to work closely with Kim Kardashian on all of these fronts. Good morning, Van.
Good morning.
You call it, to me, we talked a lot before this interview,
Yeah.
the Kim Kardashian effect.
Yes. That's the Kim I know. All the flash and the stuff that people talk about, how sober she was, how seriously she takes this. And it is really, truly amazing. She's not wrong. Lawyers like myself, you will spend 10 years, 20 years on a case and sometimes lose. When someone like Kim Kardashian, she has more Instagram followers than some countries have people, okay? So when she reaches out to a governor or a senator or a president, they return the call. And sometimes that's all you need is just for someone to focus on the case. And you look in these cases, some of them are just horrible. You can't believe somebody's going to do life for a nonviolent drug offense, or somebody, even the people who testified against them have recounted 15 years ago and said they were lying, and that person still might be put to death, but you can't get any attention. Kim picks up the phone, and suddenly people are paying attention. And as I've said a million times, she's often more prepared than the lawyers. She's often read more of the cases, the background stuff. So she's just an extraordinary advocate. I love seeing criminal justice reform advocate under her name, not, celebrity, because that's who she's becoming.
Interesting to me to hear her say she wants a meeting with President Biden. Obviously, the president's time is precious. She did note he hasn't commuted anyone's sentence yet. That is obviously something the president has the power to do, pardons and commutations. What's your sense of what she would bring up to President Biden? What would be on her agenda if she did get the chance to sit down with him?
Well, I think where she's been successful is in two areas. One is moving forward with cases where you're looking for clemency, where you're looking for people who are wrongfully convicted or just have ridiculous sentences, to give them a chance to come home earlier. She was very effective with that with President Trump, and she's been effective with governors. So I think she would probably focus on that. She's got an incredible expertise in that area. But she also played a big role behind the scenes with getting the First Step Act passed. And there is the Equal Act, which is a very important bill, which would balance the treatment of crack versus powder cocaine and would let more people who've been in jail forever come home. And so she's a very effective advocate when it comes to legislation, when it comes to litigation. She's our secret weapon for justice. She really, really is.
We spoke about the current death row inmate, Richard Glossip, who is
Yes.
set to be executed on May 18th this week. She publicly called for a full pardon for him, which the Attorney General of Oklahoma is taking steps no Attorney General there has ever taken before, trying to get him a new trial.
Yes.
Do you think she could be impactful, knowing the system in Oklahoma, knowing that the appeals court unanimously denied that request?
It's tough, but miracles are always possible when the truth is on your side. That's the thing that we learned over and over again. It's really, I think we have a criminal justice system that's much more broken than people know. Many more people are literally, if you just had a different lawyer or lived in a different zip code or a different skin color or just more money to pay for one more investigator, you would be home with your kids. But instead, you're sitting there on death row or you're sitting there in solitary confinement for decades. And so you can be a difference maker. And by the way, it's not just a celebrity like a Kim Kardashian. She'll tell you, anybody, if you step outside of that lane, if you care about an issue, whether it's criminal justice, whether it's underprivileged kids, whatever it is, you can make a much bigger difference on an issue than you know. She had no idea she could do this stuff. And there are people who are watching this who can make a tremendous difference, in their own area, in their own life, in their own neighborhood. It's just that the great thing about Kim is that she stepped outside of the norm and she found a whole different role for herself. That's not just true for Kim Kardashian, that's true for all of us.
That's a call to action.
Call to action.
For a lot of us, yeah. I'll never forget the famous New Yorker cartoon. It says, well, how much justice can you afford? Right?
Exactly.
Remember that?
Yeah.
It's a real question of
Yeah.
disparity on so many fronts.
Yeah, it
Man,
really
thanks-
is. And
thank you.
I appreciate you being interested in these issues, whether it's Kim or other people. You're always there. I think CNN has done a great job of lifting up these issues, and I hope you keep doing it. And I was very, very proud to see Kim yesterday.
Following your lead.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Van.